Taking a moment to wake up, I guess.
Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hello, welcome back to P4P. I'm Giovanna, and today I am joined by Debra Whitson, the founder and managing attorney at Whitson Law PLLC, and apparently a published author too.
Yes. Hi.
How are you today, Debra?
I'm great. So nice to be here with you, Giovanna.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Now, to start with, I know now that you're in family law, but from what I understand, you didn't start there. So tell us a little bit how you got from point A to point B.
Well, let's start at how I got to point A, if that's okay. I'll be brief. But
All right.
I grew up in a small town where in a big family and a community of similar big families in the neighborhood, and nobody locked doors, and kids kind of ran free and roamed the neighborhood, and everything felt very safe. And at when I was had just finished my 9th grade year, my next brother in line, I'm the youngest of 6, had graduated high school and was very excited to go off to college later that fall with one of his best friends and classmates. And his best friend was horribly, tragically murdered in a very gruesome way. And so everybody in my neighborhood and our school was glued to the case, and the perpetrator, where there was lots of evidence and lots of things pointing that he did this, including a confession. He almost got off on a technicality for a misstep in the collection of evidence. And as a 14-year-old who didn't understand the Constitution and due process protections for the accused, I thought the system was broken. And so I switched from wanting to become a storyteller author to wanting to become a prosecutor. Specifically, I was going to fix the criminal justice system and make sure that this kind of tragedy could not go where someone would not be held accountable for something as horrific as what happened to my brother's dear friend. So that's what I did. After getting my bachelor's, I went to law school to become a prosecutor, and I did that for the first 11 years of my now 32-year career. And it was very gratifying. During that time, I did about 100 trials and decided it was time to get out of public service and sort of make a real living for myself financially. It was really good to be a public servant, but it doesn't create wealth or financial advancement. So I decided I was going to start with matrimonial and family law, because I had been a special victims prosecutor for much of that time that I was a prosecutor, and became an expert in working with victims of sexual and domestic violence. So family law matters seemed to be the most analogous transition. And I quickly learned that while I did 100 successful trials as a prosecutor, that courts were terrible places for families, especially families with children, to be handling their divorces and their custody things, and et cetera. So I've made it a mission to fix that system. I don't know if that I fixed the criminal justice system, but I'm trying
you do your best.
I'm trying to fix the civil justice way of handling or the way that people approach their family law related matters.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting you say that, because most of the time I hear the reverse, where people are like, it's easier to do the criminal law stuff with all the horrifying stuff that happens there than family law. So you're braver than many.
In some respects, it is, because I think crime is, even though it's difficult when you're dealing with people who have really suffered terrible victimization, what's happening in intimate relationships that once were happy and loving is actually harder to deal with. And there's less black and white and right and wrong. It's kind of like there's something right about everybody's role in a relationship, and mutually there's also things that people do wrong. And so it's muddier and sometimes messier. Yeah.
No one can hate you more than someone who used to love you.
I know, right? It runs to the point.
Yep. And I mean, it's got to be very difficult. I mean, like, even when you're not dealing with a case that has DV specifically taking place, I mean, maybe there are some different ways that you handle it depending on if it's a DV case or if it's your standard parents aren't really getting along anymore, so they're, separating and otherwise generally amenable. Or I guess even the third option, the parents haven't necessarily been violent with each other or anything like that, but they still don't like each other and just want to be petty.
Yeah, so pettiness runs in abundance in these things. It just tends to be the case sometimes. And so, I founded my family law firm with the notion that courts should be literally the last resort, that people should avoid it at all costs. And that sounds weird from somebody who made the first half of her career standing in court really every day. So I just realized how a stranger in a black robe is never going to know enough about your past, your desires for your future, and God, your children. How could they know the nuances of your children's strengths, their special challenges, your hopes and dreams for how you want to raise your children? They're slogging through a big backlog of a lot of cases, and they're making decisions when people let them make these decisions for them on very limited information because of rules of evidence and time. So I just think it's the hallmark of irrationality to let a stranger in a black robe make any important decision about your future, but certainly not about your kids. So we approach it, first of all, understanding that this is a really challenging life transition. Even if you are absolutely certain you want this breakup and you want this divorce, and that it's best for everybody, it's still hard. It's still a loss. It's still a loss of, I thought this was love forever and happiness forever and raising children together if you have children. And then it doesn't work out. So it's a grieving process and a true sense of loss. And then there can be the bitterness and the pettiness and all the emotional stuff that comes up around a relationship that was once happy and romantic ending. So we try to recognize that and approach the clients with a realistic and holistic way, where we try to bring around services for everything they need. So we, say that everybody going through that kind of transition or loss should have a mental health counselor in their corner, not because they're ill or they're not managing things well, but it's hard and they need to have somebody help them or guide them through that, especially if it's contentious or bitter.
Yeah, I actually have a question about that. So is it like you have maybe a handful that are employed specifically by your firm to deal with, your clients and their situations, or do you more so connect them with outside counselors?
That's a great question. So first, everybody in my law firm who interacts with clients directly, we have behind the scenes supports like every business, marketing, sales, technology. But anybody talking to our clients or potential clients becomes a certified divorce specialist. It's a special training program offered by the National Association of Divorce Professionals to help people dealing with divorcing or separating parties, while understanding the stressors in their life and how that affects their ability to receive and process information and the kinds of supports that they may need through the process. So yes, on the staff we have right now, I think 6 or 7 certified divorce specialists. We have official partnerships with co-parenting coaches, forensic accountants, certified divorce financial analysts, and we're about to hire our first divorce coach or divorce support professional on staff to provide free coaching and support services to parents and just couples who are uncoupling without having it show up on their bill for legal services. So the firm is going to be hiring those sorts of supports in-house. But where we can't easily hire them in-house, we're partnering with and trusted professionals that offer special packages for our clients. And there's other perks that go along with connecting our clients with those people, perks for the clients, but also perks for us because the clients are very well supported and they're using the professionals who have the qualifications to help them in those arenas. We're internally not co-parenting coaches. We're most of us dealing with the clients on our side are the certified divorce specialists and the attorneys. So we try to be helpful. We try to, walk our clients through whatever problem is causing them stress on the moment they reach out to us. But it's really, I think, more effective if we put the work on the shoulders of the properly trained professionals and help our clients as a team to go through this process.
Would you be able to give us maybe some stories or example to kind of help illustrate how you've been talking about how mediation, the importance of mediation, with litigation really only being the last step?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we offer the full range of services from mediation to collaborative divorce to, when people can't avoid it, litigated divorces. So there are some states where you have to try mediation or some form of alternative dispute resolution before you can get a judge assigned to your divorce or your custody case. Unfortunately for New Yorkers, we're not one of those states. So you have to both agree to sign up for mediation or collaboration or some other form of alternative dispute resolution. So we promote it, and we tell people that where the other party won't voluntarily sign up for the mediation formalities, we still try to settle the case early, strategically, and as often as we can. We try to avoid that trial. It's just, we feel trials are so expensive and uncertain and harmful for clients. And when it's unavoidable, we'll fight like heck in court, because Lord knows I've spent a lot of hours in court and I've had to do that. But we really think we want to give the client every opportunity to take a detour or an off-ramp before getting to the trial.
Yeah, I know that when you take it to litigation, it can get ugly, especially since you're basically having the government play parent.
I know, and that seems so, like I said, irrational and risky, honestly. That so I just we really feel passionate about helping clients avoid that any way that it's strategically possible to do so. But everybody in the legal side of things knows that, I don't know, statistically the numbers might shift a little, but somewhere around 97 or 98% of cases settle ultimately. And it's really unfortunate that some of them settle on the last moment before the judge says, call your first witness to the first attorney. So sometimes it takes people to get to that point of, oh my gosh, what am I doing? We're going to let this person make this decision for us before they compromise. So we really try to stress compromise and get strategic back here, not on the morning of trial, because by then you've gone through the stress and you've paid the lawyer to be ready for trial. At that point, you've lost a lot of the benefits of settlement.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly makes sense to me. But now I am curious. So let's say you can just give me an example, whether it be, something that actually happened or just theoretical, whatever works best for you. But in the scenario where there's a couple who maybe don't like each other anymore, but they still both love their kid, what are the factors that a judge would normally consider, if it's necessary for them to help the parents decide how that child's time is going to be split?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think, first of all, in the area where my law firm reaches potential clients, there's still a widespread belief in the old model that moms get custody and dads get visitation. And that's kind of long behind us. So if you walk into a court, even in upstate New York, which is pretty slow to be, to catch up with nationwide trends, because we're pretty rural in the area that my law firm and my mediation company physically exists, is you're walking in on equal footing, that there's a presumption that both parents should be involved in the decision-making and involved in the parenting substantially. Now, does that mean a 50-50 schedule? Not necessarily, but many judges, in many judges' minds, it does. So if parties are coming with the expectation that I'm going to get primary decision-making authority and primary physical placement, the other party's going to have weekends alternating or something, that's really not the case. So part of it is educating and setting expectations. But when you're standing in court, the judges are assuming that you're both capable, loving parents. And so you have to really demonstrate some need of the child or children. So an example might be if you have an autistic child where transitions are very disruptive to everybody, to the siblings, to the parents, and then, any new household members. That may mean that somebody has a more typical model of one parent is the residential parent and the other gets every other weekend visits or some sort of more limited parenting schedule, with maybe that autistic child spending most holidays or longer periods or summer vacations from school with the other parent because the child's needs dictate that. So that, that's just one example, but I think a lot of judges are defaulting to a 50-50 schedule, and I'm not sure that that's best for all kids. Some kids can't tolerate that kind of back and forth. I mean, think
I
about
can
picking
imagine that.
a couple of days in a backpack or suitcase and moving back and forth. It's, it's a big adjustment for anyone, but for a young child or even a teenager, God forbid. They're cantankerous enough sometimes anyway, as it is, without putting that sort of, moving back and forth into their daily routine. So
it sounds so silly, but I'm just imagining a teenage girl with a 50-50 split getting ready for a date only to realize that the clothes that she wants to wear at the other house.
For real. I mean, I think parents need to think about it from their kids' perspective and maybe try it out for just a couple of weeks, that they move back and forth every few days or every week.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. I did it for a little while myself personally as an adult when I was commuting to a job, and I had a family member at the other end of the commute. So to save the commute, I would stay a couple of nights and avoid the travel back and forth. And I, like you said, there was like, oh, I didn't bring that jacket, or I didn't bring those sneakers, and I wanted to go jogging. It's hard to do that and do it well and seamlessly.
That makes sense. Now, I know that it's always preferable, if it's possible, to settle things in mediation. So what would you say makes someone a good candidate for that?
So anybody who's willing to realize that the more you spend on outside help to get to where you want to go, if you're never married and you're breaking up and you have to work out custody in support of the children, or you're divorced and you have to get it all resolved, the more you have outside help and the more you use that outside help, the more you are diminishing your potential returns. Returns just aren't necessarily financial. It might be that you're closing this chapter and getting on to a new and most times happier and better and more relaxed chapter of your life sooner. Things like reducing your stress have a value. And I often, when I'm meeting with clients, I'll say, well, what is the value to you of peace of mind, or determining your own outcomes, or getting this done quickly or privately? So those things don't have dollars assigned to them necessarily on their face, like we're going to value the real estate or the pensions. But I encourage people to think of the lost value if you're going to keep spending money on lawyers, spending money on appraisers, spending money on financial planners, et cetera, or getting professional tax advice. Just to, you don't fight over a $20,000 boat by spending $10,000 on each party's attorney. You've just now lost all the value of that whole position. Mm-hmm. So people to not take positions and hold on to positions when they're losing a return on that investment, so to speak, over time. So don't spend more emotionally or financially than you are negotiating or bargaining to get back. And I think in relationships, it's easy to lose sight of that, because sometimes they just, I just don't want the new girlfriend living in my former house, So there's positions that are not necessarily logical when you look at the real value over the fight.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's a very emotionally charged time in anyone's life if they're going through a divorce, but how would you say that couples can best preserve dignity during a difficult separation?
So I think the preserving dignity comes from not fighting over things that aren't worth it, and trying not to fight at all. So what I encourage people to do is consider their desired outcomes without reference to the other party. So in mediation, I will say, make a proposal, but don't give your justification. So the proposal of, I want the house as the outcome of this divorce. I want to keep the house because I don't want any other la la la, bad woman in my former house or my former bedroom or whatever. So don't make the justification. Just say, I would like to have the house, and in exchange for that, I'm proposing that you get to keep X, Y, and Z, or I pay you X amount after I refinance the existing mortgage. Don't do the justification, because the justification is what gets people pissed at each other, and it opens old wounds, and it just becomes, well, I never did that, and yes, you did, and no, I didn't. So just make your proposals and be flexible. Be willing to be flexible. You have to compromise somewhere. Compromising isn't losing.
That is very true. Honestly, I'd say a good compromise is a win on both sides.
Yeah, a win on both sides. And a feeling like, did I give too much? Like, I think when both parties think, I think I might have given too much, I think that's a really good settlement. I got a lot of what I wanted, and maybe I gave a little too much. And when they both feel that way, then they were both in it to roll up their sleeves and get it settled. So I think that that's a good hallmark litmus test of, was it a good outcome?
Yeah. What to you is a successful mediation?
Well, for me, I don't judge on outcomes. So, and as a neutral mediator, even though I am an attorney advocate in many other situations, when I'm a mediator, I'm a neutral facilitator with legal knowledge about the laws of New York State. I don't judge. So I can't say to either party separately, I think you could do better. I don't advise you to do that. I can't do that. So if they're going into it with open eyes, and they avail themselves of the opportunity to get independent attorney or financial or tax review before they sign. I've had people who, in my opinion, gave away the shop, and they were happy to do so. So it's really about what's unique to their values and their goals. And we explore that in the beginning of mediation, but they don't have to always disclose their values and goals if they feel that strategically it's not helpful to do so. But so, they can get as creative as they want in mediation, and things can be lopsided for sure if they both agree to that. My job is just to make sure that if it's really, really lopsided, that we point to that in the document that I draft that says, notwithstanding that this seems, very much in favor of party one over party two, party two is voluntarily and knowingly enter into this and with his or own free will. Because sometimes people just move on and they don't care, or maybe they had the affair, or maybe they broke up the relationship, or maybe they wasted a bunch of money gambling and they feel bad, so they're going to give everything else to the other person.
Makes sense to kind of keep the peace a little bit. Now, unfortunately, we are at the end of our time today, but before we get going, how about you plug where people can find you, or maybe where they can find your books?
Oh, yeah, sure. So you can find me at whitsonlawfirm.com, or the sister company that does mediation, mediatedonlinesolutions.com, or under my name on all my social across all platforms. And the books, Divorce Like a Pro, A Better Way to Break Up, and my newest one, Custody Done Right, the book number 2 in the Divorce Like a Pro series, are both available on Amazon. But because we want people to have the value of the good information that is in there, they're really informative. They're not Pulitzer Prize winning novels or stories. It's to help people understand their options and choose better ways to approach these things. So you can download a plain old PDF version on both of those websites. If you want a physical book or e-reader Kindle version and have the flexibility and full features of that, you go to Amazon, and they're there if you want them in those formats. But we give them away for free.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. This episode has been brought to you by Leduc Entertainment for podcasting, social media, personal branding, and video. We'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.